Hey, everybody, and welcome to Crushing Land. Happy to have you here with us today. And today we're going to spend some time talking about using other people's monies for transactions. Now, we're going to talk about the best way to do that and different ways to do that. So basically what we're going to be talking about is joint ventures. And joint ventures take a lot of different forms, and we're basically going to explain them and explain what we've done and spend a little bit of time on that. So the bottom line is when you're getting started in this business, or even as you're getting going, you're not going to have capital right away. And even as you really progress and have capital and have money to invest and things like that, there's going to be certain deals that for whatever reason, you're just not going to want to invest X amount of money, because there's still going to be larger deals where it could mean putting up $100,000 or a few $100,000 or $1 million and things like that. And so there's going to be different situations where you're going to say, I'm not interested in doing that. Or there's situations where you're going to do more with the property. And because of that, you are going to be in a situation where money's going to be tied up for a long amount of time. And again, because of that, you may not be willing to tie it up, even if you do have the capital. So that's what we're going to be talking about here today. Again, we're going to call it joint ventures just because that's basically what it is. But that being said, there's different forms of that. So the simplest and easiest form of a joint venture that you will do, especially if you're a beginner, is transactional funding. Now, on Crushing Land here before, we've done a special guest episode with Dave Dinkle, and he's come on and talked all about transactional funding. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. But basically what that means is you're using somebody else's money at a double closing. So you have a contract for a piece of property for X amount of money. You're selling it for Y. There's something in the middle, but you don't have X to bring to closing in order to get the deal done. What do? You use a transactional funder. That being said, this is literally for pennies on the dollar is the fees associated with it. So it is a joint venture of sorts. It's just a very low amount that you're giving up for this. Now, that being said, it's something that can be helpful even for the experienced investor. I know people that are buying pieces of property for $100,000 and selling them for $150,000. And you know what? They don't have $100,000 to tie up, or they don't want to tie up $100,000. So they still use transactional funding. They pay the fee, at $1,000 or $1,500, and they're walking away with the difference after closing, somewhere in the high 40s in an example like that. So that's pretty much the simplest form of joint venturing, and one that we do recommend, especially for new people, in order to not use your own money, not be strapping your capital if you have limited capital, and being able to take advantage of these resources out there. And again, we had a series on this before. Just go back through YouTube and look at our series, and you'll see the one with Dave Dinkle, and you can hear all about transactional funding. A second method that you can use is literally just creating loans. So what does that mean? Well, you have investors and you're giving them X amount percentage, whatever they're giving you, you're giving them a certain percentage, 7%, 8%, 10%, whatever it may be, as a straight up loan. And normally that takes place after a certain number of months. So there may be no interest, or it could even be an interest-free loan or whatever it is, but there'll be nothing going, not no interest, no payments, I'm sorry, and no payments for a while, or it could be an interest-free loan, or different forms of things out there where basically after X amount of time, you're paying them. That can be beneficial if you really know your numbers and you know what you're doing. Because again, if you're borrowing $100,000 and you're selling it for, say, $200,000, and it's not going to take a whole lot of time, but it's going to be tied up for, say, a couple months, but that's all it's going to be tied up for. I'm only going to be tying it up for a couple of months. And transactional funding's out at that point because you can't double close. So now you need to go to a different method. So in that case, that is something that you could be looking at and being like, well, I don't mind paying a little bit out per month to borrow that money, especially since I'm going to sell it so quickly. The risk in that is that you cannot guarantee that you're going to have it close that quick. So if for some reason something happens or your numbers are wrong or anything like that, the clock's still ticking and you're still making payments each and every month, and you're going to be bleeding money out because of that. So it's a good strategy, but it can be risky depending on what your ability is. Our final method that we do recommend a lot is just a straight up joint venture. What is a straight up joint venture? It's literally giving equity in the property. So we've done one where we put up $80,000. We were doing a project. Somebody else put up $80,000 and they got 25% of the deal long term, but it doesn't matter. It's whenever the deal sells, they get their money. So that's just a straight up joint venture agreement. So again, these are just some examples of different things you can do in using other people's money: transactional funding, using an interest situation, or a joint venture, straight up joint venture agreement, where you can get other people involved, get their money involved, have your money working elsewhere, and get deals done at the beginning, and then get even larger deals and projects and things like that done as you're moving forward. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.